begin with Michael Williams, who is the Chief Communications and Public Affairs of the World Meteorological Organization. Michael, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone. So the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change assesses the climate change science. And they met in Stockholm and adopted their report a few weeks ago. And as part of this, they also adopted their key findings in 19 headline statements. So when I was asked to do this 20-slide Pecha Kucha presentation, I realized that really lent itself to 19 slides and an introductory slide right here. So what I'm going to do is present my understanding as a non-scientist of the 19 headline statements from the world scientists. Okay, so the first one, key conclusion of the scientists is that warming of the climate system is unequivocal. And one of the reasons that scientists are so confident about this is that there are 3 independent global temperature records that you see right here, dating back to late 1800s. 2 of them are collected in the US by NOAA and NASA, and 1 by the UK. And even though they're all slightly different, they all show the same message, the same upward trend. And this slide here, we look at the last 3 decades, and we see that they were the warmest decades ever in the modern record. And this is very significant because when we speak about climate, we really think about 30-year time periods, and that's much more meaningful than year by year. So the main point of this slide is that important as the temperature rise in the atmosphere is, most of the energy that's being trapped by greenhouse gases actually goes into the oceans, which have a lot more mass in the atmosphere. You'll see 93%, and then there are the other ones there that I've already lost. And then this one shows you last year's extent of the Arctic ice cover, which was a record low extent in September 2012. And this is a result of the Arctic absorbing all the extra heat. Here we have, it shows that sea level rise is rising rapidly, so far by 19 centimeters as a global average. In this chart, in this map here, you see the red areas are where it's actually rising more than average. More than three times as much, and that happens to be in the area by the Philippines. Greenhouse gas levels are unprecedented. And here we have diagrams showing the rising in carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, which we're able to measure very well in the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases warm the atmosphere, but there are many factors such as dust in the atmosphere, the reflection of the planet, the clouds and so forth, which cool the atmosphere. But the net effect is a warming. Human influence on the climate is clear. So climate models have improved dramatically. And here we have, just get your sense of some of the resolution has improved dramatically, which gives scientists a lot more confidence in their understanding of the global climate system that these models model. One of the reasons that scientists also are very confident about their understanding of the climate system is that the models and the observations are consistent with one another. And both have improved dramatically. We have an incredible array of instruments, satellites, ocean buoys, and so forth, which are monitoring the planet and providing an incredible amount of data that's then used for the models. Human influence is it's a dominant cause of warming. And this is a quote from the report. It's extremely likely, defined by the IPCC as 95 to 100% certainty, that human influence has been the dominant cause of the observed warming since the mid-20th century. As already was discussed in the previous presentations, limiting climate change requires major cuts in greenhouse gases. And the IPCC has done a lot of work on calculating what kind of cuts would be necessary to limit the temperature to certain levels in the years and decades to come. The year 2100 is likely to see a temperature rise of 1.5 degrees or even 2 degrees if we start taking really effective action to address climate change. But if we stay with business as usual and continue emitting the way we are with the upward trend we have today, we could see even higher than 4 degrees centigrade rise. That's compared to a global temperature average of 14 degrees centigrade in recent decades. And one thing this temperature rise will do is to continue changing the global water cycle. It will accelerate it, leading to more floods in some areas and droughts in others. The oceans are going to continue to warm. Here you see an expectation over the next 100 years of how much warmth will go into the upper layer of the ocean, from down to 700 meters, but also even now in the deeper oceans will start to be penetrated more and more by the additional heat that we're adding. The Arctic sea ice and the glaciers and the snow will continue to decline. This year we saw the 6th lowest extent of the Arctic ice, and actually now with instruments from radar from satellites and so forth, it's possible to actually measure the mass of the ice, which continues to decline. I assume this is New York City, where I'm more or less from. Sea levels will continue to rise. There's an expectation that they could rise as much as 98 centimeters. Would be the maximum over the next 100 years. And obviously that on top of the 19 would be an extraordinary impact on many coastlines around the world. And in addition to sea levels rising and the waters warming, the absorption of CO2 by the ocean also acidifies the water and has a dramatic effect on the quality of the water, which affects many coral and many shell-bearing animals, and is going to have a disastrous effect on biodiversity. And finally, this is really an iconic graph that people are referring to very often, but you do have to study it a little bit, but it's something that's really worth looking at. And it also just shows that the cumulative emissions of carbon dioxide are the main threat, accounting for 80% of future climate change.
That's a weird one, but that's a very interesting thing. How is it counted that there is 95% chance for global warming being caused by human?
Okay, it's a judgment. It's a judgment call by the scientists that they put that very, very likely. I think very likely is what they use. Extremely likely. Thank you. So that's a judgment call, and it's based on some of the issues I mentioned. There's many different strands of evidence from observations, models, as general physics, understanding how physics works. The whole greenhouse effect, enhanced greenhouse effect, has been understood since the 19th century. So there's many different strands of evidence that gives them this level of confidence.
All right, with that, I'd like to thank Michael.